Welcome to the Hot Rod Hangout Podcast.
Whoop, whoop.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Ashley.
And tonight we got a special guest, Vinnie. What's going on, man?
Hey, how are you? Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, appreciate you coming on, man. Anytime to get to talk to hot rods, that's all about it. So tell us what got you into cars in the first place?
Well, my dad actually, my dad's an old school muscle car guy. 60s, 70s, always had Chevelles and Novas and stuff like that. So, kind of just, I guess, fell that way when I first started driving. Like, bought I think it was a Ford Ranger for like $275 when I first got my license, and I was like, all right, now what can I do to this thing? So I started looking up parts, and of course the thing turned into a rolling stereo and all that stuff. But then, as I matured, so did the mods of the vehicles. So, yeah, just I'm an old S10 guy. Everything I owned was an S10, other than that Ranger, but mini trucks in general.
Okay.
Was always S10 pickup or an S10 Blazer. Whether they were, I had 3 or 4 bag trucks, I think, and a bunch of them lowered, rebuilt engines. And then it just kind of snowballed from there, I guess.
Okay, but it seems like you moved a little bit out of the mini trucks and kind of went into the older stuff. So what made you make that transition?
Yeah. Well, my 49 Chevy that I have now, Chevy 3100 pickup, was technically going to be it's on an S10 chassis. So I was building a Pro Street S10. I had the 350. I had the transmission. I had the S10 frame. I had it was a 94 S10 that I bought from a buddy of mine. So I back halved it, narrowed the frame 6 inches on each side. And it was going to be a Pro Street S10. But I've always been in, my dad's a muscle car guy, so I've always been into like older cars and stuff. Hot rod, straight axle stuff's always been, I guess you could say, on my radar. Like I wouldn't walk away from them at a car show, you know what I mean? Like I still gravitated towards that stuff. But my dad had 2 49 Chevy pickups that were just rusting away in the side yard. That was always one day I'll get to him. One day I'll get to him. One day I'll get to him. So, my wife and my mom kind of ganging up on him to give me one. He gave me one. So, the S10 body got thrown out, sent to the scrapyard. The 49 Chevy 3100 got pulled off its chassis and dropped on the S10 chassis, and I've had it that way for almost 6 years now, I think. There was a car show. I mean, it's a national show. It's the World of Wheels. Mm-hmm. Used to come up here to Boston. And I guess you could kind of call it like the SEMA push. Like we threw that truck together in the matter of months in my buddy's garage. It's a 2-car garage, but he was building a car next to me. So basically in a 1-car garage, we slapped it together and we got it up to World of Wheels. And I think it took 3rd place in the class or something. I can't 100% remember what place it was. It's too many years ago now.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're on our own little SEMA push for Turkey Rod Run, the 29. So what is you've had a couple cars. I know you're currently working on a Model A, right?
It's technically it's a Model A frame. It's a 1931 Model A chassis. Everything, the rolling chassis, the engine, the transmission, everything is the 31 Model A. But it's got I ended up picking up a 27 Model T Roadster,
Okay.
pickup Roadster body that I'm going to put on the chassis. But that's kind of the build. That's the build why that's actually the build I wanted to mainly talk about. Because that's being purpose built for vintage racing. So for, I don't know, you guys are down in Florida, right?
Yep. Yeah, we're in Florida.
So up here, you've probably heard of it, but the Race of Gentlemen up in New Jersey.
Yep. I actually, the guy that I bought my 32 from got accepted with his Roadster to Trog this year.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've been talking to Mel a lot, and we're gonna hopefully get my Roadster on the beach this year.
Awesome.
So it's good. It's getting built for that. It's getting built for the Northeast Vintage Drags that are up in Maine that I'm actually going to this weekend. But obviously without the car, because right now it's still in pieces. But
right.
Going up there to hang out for the weekend, meet a bunch of those guys, and then there's the Pine Tree Jamboree, which is up in Maine. Same thing, vintage style racing, flatheads. That actually, I think, is a flathead only race. So the other races have classes for overhead valves, but not that one.
That builds a banger, right? It's a 4-banger motor, or
Yeah. Yep. Downdraft, converted over to downdraft carburation. I'm going to make the header for it. It's got a high compression, quote unquote, because it's, I mean, it's basically a tractor motor. So the stock compression is 4.2 to 1, I think.
Yeah.
So the quote unquote high compression head is 5.5 to 1 ratio.
Very good.
So it's it'll hopefully be fun. I mean, I haven't driven it yet, but I'm hoping it'll at least be a little fun to drive.
It's also being built for something else, right? Isn't there?
Yep.
Another?
Yep. That build, I have. Back when I was 10 years old, I was diagnosed with a rare genetic eye disease that's slowly been taking my vision. So technically, right now, I'm legally blind. But I'm still building hot rods. So
That's cool.
So, but yeah, that build, when I'm done with it sometime next year, it'll be going up for sale, and then all the proceeds, I'm not keeping anything. 100% of what it makes is getting donated to the Foundation Fighting Blindness.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
So that's the main reason, other than for me to have some fun with it. But that's the main reason for that build.
That's awesome. It's always good when you can kind of give back, take an unfortunate thing and turn it into a positive.
Yep.
We need more people like that in the car community.
Yeah, everybody tells me I'm too positive.
No, man. Positivity is what's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went on a little rant about negativity last night in the live.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's build what you want to build. And, people talking crap about other people's builds is a little ridiculous. Or other people's cars, And it was an old couple too, so it wasn't even like it was like a young kid that ruined a car. It was an old couple just sitting there enjoying their ice cream behind their car at a local car cruise, and the guy's like, "Why do you do that? Why do you do this?" And it's like, "Because it's his, and he wanted to." Like, but
yeah,
it's good to see. We've noticed a couple of the shows starting to see a little bit of younger guys getting kind of accepted, so we like that. Because you had mini truck. You were in the mini truck world. I mean, we all do the same stuff. They just call it something different. Body drop is channeling.
Yeah, exactly.
Cutting a bed floor out and C notches, putting step.
Yeah, step in the frame.
Step in the frame, sweeping the frame, stuff like that. It's all the same, but So it's good to see that. We've seen a couple, went to a local show last weekend, and there was a couple younger guys there. One guy, he said, I hope I make it home. I was like, if you don't, holler, man. I got a truck. I'll come get you.
Yeah.
But he had a 50, and it was literally nobody, no one touched it before he got it. And it was, and I was like, when I seen it, I'm like, man, it looks like our 54, because our 54 is pretty much other than dummy low. It's stupid low, but other than that, it's pretty much how, Chevrolet made it.
Yeah.
So currently, what is your favorite car that you own?
Probably the 27 so far. That's definitely the newest. Well, obviously not the newest car I own, but it's the newest to me car that I own. So
cool.
I mean, my 49, I don't drive. Last time we took it out, my dad drove it, and I was riding shotgun. So in that thing, I just let it go. Like I said, we kind of threw it together, and now it's kind of six years later. It's kicking me in the butt to fix the things that didn't get touched or kind of got overlooked, I guess you could say. So it's actually not running right now. It's just sitting in the yard. But the probably my favorite one so far is, my favorite one I own now is definitely my 27.
What's the car that got away then?
Ooh, I used to have probably my 2000 Sonoma. It was a bagged step side. Had the 90s, the late 90s Envoy style bumper before they got to the mid-size Envoy. When it was basically just Jimmy rebadged. So it had the Envoy bumper on it, and then I took the headlights off and I modified an S10 grill. So I did the S10 headlights, grill, and marker lights. Yeah, the step side. I love step sides. I mean, that was basically all I had. Excuse me, when I had pickups. So that was probably the one. It was just a 2.2 4-cylinder 5-speed. The fun S10.
Yeah. Yeah, S10s with 5-speed are way funner than automatics. So you had mentioned a couple of shows that you'd like to attend. What shows or events do you try to make every year?
Well, the club I'm in, we have a pre 1970 show every year called Hot Rods on the Hill. And it gets bigger and bigger every year. So that, and being in the club, I mean, I actually went to that show before I was in the club. So I've been to every single one of those shows. And we're on, this I think is 9 coming up because of COVID. We had to skip a year. So this one's 9. So there's that show. I mean, honestly, that show, even before I was in the club, like I said, I've been to all of them. The other clubs in the area, like the club that Justin's in, the Red Devils, they do a show every year that's really good. The Fall Throwdown in Massachusetts, that one's a really good show to go to. Those are probably like the main 2, honestly.
Okay. What's a show or event that you've never been to that you would like to go to?
Probably check out Viva Las Vegas. I haven't been out that way. I went to Viva East when it was over here. I went to the first 2, I think. I didn't go to the ones after that, but I went to the first 2 when it was over here, and that was a good show. So to check out like the original, like, and the original Viva Las Vegas would probably be wicked cool to do.
That is definitely one of ours that's on our list. A bunch of those West Coast shows, Viva, the Moon Eyes. I want to go to Grand National just to say I went.
Yeah.
That's not really the type of builds that I prefer, but I will say though, the guy that won, I forget what award he won, but he won a trophy and went out and did a burnout and drove his car back to Arizona or somewhere. And I was like,
Oh, no.
that's what it's all about.
Wasn't it an amber?
Yeah.
No, he didn't win the amber.
Oh.
But it was a coupe of some sort. But it was he was parked in the show, and they're like, okay, well, you know, bring your trailer in and we'll put it in. And he was like, trailer?
Nope.
He's like, it ain't going back in the trailer. He said, I sent that back home.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. So, you know, you got the club and you got the builds and stuff like that. What's something that you would tell somebody that's trying to get into this? You know, if they fall and bump their head and decide that they want to be in hot rods. Besides, don't.
I mean, yeah, no, I
No.
actually, I wouldn't.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, no, it's just actually, I would say basically the opposite. Like, don't listen to anybody. Build what you want to build. Build it the way you want to do it. Get your end game kind of in your mind, so that way you're not spending extra money doing it this way, doing it that way, and then saying, I don't really like that, because, I mean, especially if you're doing traditional, and the way I'm building the 27, it's expensive.
Yes.
I mean, these parts for these old cars are getting more and more expensive to use original anyway. I mean, you could go to Speedway and buy stuff out of the catalog, but if you're digging through swap meets and you're digging through people's collections of like their grandfathers who have passed away or whatever, and the grandkids are selling all the junk he had, it can get very expensive very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So just have your mindset, have your end game kind of, even if it's like loosely in the back of your mind, but just keep it there and try and stick to it.
Yes. And don't build somebody else's car.
Yeah. Don't listen to anybody else. Oh, that's ugly. Why are you doing it that way? Oh, because I want to do it that way.
No,
So
that's
That's what you preach.
I fell into it. The reason that I say that now almost every podcast is because I fell into that for a little while. And it was, it's got to be this, it's got to be that, it's got to be this. And it was other people saying it has to be this, it has to be that. It wasn't my way. And it got me off track for a little while. Luckily, I didn't buy any parts that I didn't really want or need. So, but patience is, it's not one of my strong suits. Like, I want to go out and drive the car tomorrow, but you know, there is, luckily we have the 54 that can kind of fill an itch.
Yeah.
But, so, what's a road trip story that sticks out in your mind, you know, getting together with friends, what this community is all about? You know, what's a story, whether it's a show with your club, whether it's a road trip somewhere, whether it was just you and your wife going out for ice cream, whatever the case is.
Well, I mean, a few years ago when I was driving a lot more, my oldest daughter, my oldest is 10, and loves the hot rod, loves the 49. So any chance I could, like picking her up from camp in the summertime, or just even, hey, going to put gas in it, you want to come along? So I mean, any chance that she was in that passenger seat with me. So it's, even though they're not road trips, you know what I mean? But it's we're out. I mean, that thing, I wouldn't honestly trust it to drive an hour up the road. So. Although we drove it. I drove it to in the winter. We do up here in the Northeast. We do an event called the Gathering of the Clubs, and all the hot rod clubs in New England, and some from Canada, and actually one comes over from Ireland. We all hang out in a hotel. We get a hotel conference room, and we all hang out for a weekend. and party it up in the hotel. So it's still about an hour away. It's at a different hotel now, but when it was a little straighter shot, a little easier to get to, a few of us in the club. I'm in the Creeps car club up here in Rhode Island. We took our hot rods, like froze our butts off. I mean, I had a mask on pre-COVID because it was so cold there. You know what I mean? Like, the SA thermal mask, and the windows rolled down because they chatter and they don't do anything anyway. So windows rolled down, white knuckles, frozen to the steering wheel, driving up the highway to this event. So I mean, I guess that was a pretty cool story.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. Getting out and enjoying your shit, man.
Making memories.
Yeah.
You'll remember the
Maybe
mask
heat
before
coming off
COVID.
the holes in the floor.
Fortunately, in Florida, we don't have a whole lot of that weather. But
Yeah.
me and Ashley made an hour and a half trip in the 54, and if I wouldn't have said I was bringing, and then I was bundled up. You know, I don't usually get cold, but I had a beanie on, my Carhartt on, like I'm cruising down the road, and we get there, and I'm like, well, you know, it sucks, but we're here. No one brought their cars. And I
See,
was
that's
like,
even cooler though. That's even cooler.
I was like, well, there was
The first one, there was a few.
Yeah. But there was probably 25 guys and like 5 cars. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, and I drove the further. Like, well, other than we do have a younger kid that lives a little south of us.
Yeah.
But I understood he brought a truck because he was picking up parts. So I understood him. Yeah. But like everybody that lived closer than me, I'm like, where's your car at? Oh, it was too cold. I brought the car. I'm like, come on. But those are the trips. I mean, and hopefully once the A is done, we'll put a little bit of effort in the 54, and Ashley can actually get out and enjoy it because she can drive a stick shift. She just doesn't.
I can't drive it.
Well, that's the 53 Plymouth that my wife and I bought, because when I do end up like the main reason, I mean, my wife's into the hot rod thing too. We met actually because of S10s, but I kind of dragged her into the hot rod scene, and I was just kind of going through Facebook Marketplace, and I came across like some cars that were in okay shape for some good money. So I said, you know what? I ran it by her. I said, let's get you a car. That way, like, the kids can go in it. It's not just a truck. And I said, when I do end up like giving up my license because I can't freaking see anymore, you could still drive me around in something cool. So we got a 53 Plymouth. That was after I started digging into it. Like, it ended up, it basically was a polished turd, and I kind of got raked over the coals on it more than I should have. But I was excited to have it for her, you know, like it was like, all right, cool, it's a cool looking car. So after I dug into it, like I found some frame damage that I had to fix, and there's a lot of Bondo that was kind of hidden, and it's all right, but nothing I can't take care of. But excuse me, it was a flathead 6, 3 on the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my wife has, I don't think, ever driven a stick shift anyway, and then to try and get her to drive a 3 on the tree was damn near impossible. So I got it running. I ended up having to like throw new points in it, and basically going through the whole ignition system and getting it running. And then we took it out for a ride. The baby wasn't born yet. It was my oldest, I think, was only like 6 or 7. So she wanted to go. It was during COVID. Her friend wanted to her friend was having one of those drive-by parties. So she wanted to take the cool car. So we jumped in and started driving, started raining. So then like found out the thing had electrical issues because it didn't want to run in the rain.
Oh, jeez.
Oh man. So I was gonna kind of put some money into the flathead 6 that was in it. It was a inline 6 flathead. But one of the test drives, I'm driving this thing. Or one of the times my wife and I went out, we took it out on a date, and I'm driving this thing, and I can't get the stupid car over 50 miles an hour. Like it's just tapped out, like revving to the moon in third gear and going, I think like 50 or 51. We headed downhill, and that's how I got up to 60. Like, I said, all right, this isn't safe for the highway. So brought it home, pulled the front clip off, ripped the engine out. So now that's how it sits now in the driveway. But I was going to put a Jeep 4.0 in it. And I had the motor, the 2-wheel drive transmission, all out of a 2-wheel drive XJ. ECU harness, like it was ready to go in. But so I would have had to cut more of the firewall than I really, really wanted to, and the steering was kind of going to be weird. So I ended up selling that, and my dad, one of the 6 engines my dad has in his garage is a GM 4.3 out of an old Blazer, an S10 Blazer.
Back to the S10s.
So, yeah, so I'm gonna tear that some gun down. Probably go through it, bore it over, because I had one of the 4.3s I had in one of my Blazers was bored over, mild cam. So I might do the same to this, and then I'll put a 700 R4 behind it and put it in the car, so it'll be an automatic 4-speed, something she can drive comfortably. I already put a Jeep 8.25 rear end in it with 355s, so it'll be like a perfect cruiser, I think.
Yeah.
So, and then we can take it on like real road trips, like up to New Hampshire for the week, or down to Pennsylvania for like the Nationals or something, like something cool.
Yeah. Yeah, the R54 has an S10 5-speed in it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yep.
So,
what's that? The new Ventura, right? The NV3500?
Yes.
Yeah, yep.
And
that's a pretty good trim.
And then an S10 rear end too.
Is that still the straight?
Yeah, it's still
the straight 6.
Yeah, it still has the 235 in it.
Yeah.
S10 swapped, and then or S10 trans swap, and then S10 rear end, because that had if you lower them too much, it would leak down through the tail.
Yeah.
So that car I've lifted it like 3 inches in the front and 2 inches in the rear to where we can ride in it together. Because when I brought it home, it was a single passenger only car, and it still dug trenches in my yard. So,
oh, no way.
Yeah. Ashley, I had to teach Ashley how to drive a stick shift while pulling it on the trailer.
Yeah.
So that was...
No pressure.
Yeah, that was entertaining.
And the guy that we bought it from standing there watching, and I've never driven a stick shift before, and he's watching me stall this thing out like 4 times going up the trailer.
I just kept telling her, I said, if it stalls, leave the clutch out. I said, that way it'll hold you where you're at.
Yeah.
We got it on there. Climbed through the window and everything.
Yeah. And then I was like, well, she had to climb through the window because the fenders are too high. At that state, they were too high.
Yeah, on the trailer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, we'll just head home. Like, it's not supposed to rain or anything. We stop for food, and it starts raining as we're walking to the restaurant. So I go back and I reach my arm in, I roll the window up as much as I can get my arm out. It's like,
it was an adventure.
Oh man.
Yeah. But that car, well, and then I was so excited. Like we hadn't even got the suspension figured out yet. Mm-mm. And I was like, let's go. We'll just take it to the gas station. We'll put fuel in it. And like, so we bust out and I roll into the gas station. And I'm like, it's kind of running like shit, but whatever. Like,
it's working its kinks out.
And everybody's like giving us thumbs up. And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. Like, so I put some fuel in it and I roll out and I'm like, get up on one of the main roads and I'm rolling out. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, it's running. It's starting to get better. Like, just maybe it'd been sitting, maybe it had some shit in the carb, whatever.
Yeah.
Turn off a side street, pull up, stop at the stop sign. It starts like fumbling and I'm like, no, don't. Like, we're almost home. So I'm giving her the whack and I'm trying. We get up to the last stop sign. Now we got to cross another major road. And I'm like, come on, just stay running. It dies. And I'm like, motherfucker. Ashley's like, what are we going to do? I said, well, the house is right there. I said, we going to push. Mm-hmm. So we waited for traffic to break, pushed it across the road. It pushes pretty decent for how heavy it should be.
But we're both in like pajamas. I have like this big t-shirt on, flip-flops on. Like we literally were just going to go around the block. And now we're stuck pushing it. And it was spitting a little bit, but it didn't rain too bad, thankfully.
Yeah, it was an alternator. Yeah. But I was excited to drive it.
Like, what was the reason,
Alternator. Mm-hmm. It just ran out of voltage.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
So luckily it had an Optima battery in it, so it had enough charge to start a couple of times. 3 or 4 times getting it on the trailer, and then 2 or 3 times around. Yeah. But put an alternator on it, and knock on wood, hasn't left us anywhere since.
That's cool.
We did get stuck coming out of breakfast one morning, but that,
that was a height issue, not a mechanical issue. We were turtling on the ridge.
I hit this drive because pulling up to the driveway, I was like, I can't hit it square. I'm like, I'm gonna have to hit it at an angle. I'm going back to the mini truck days. And I hit it with every bit of angle I could possibly put in it, and it's still, and I'm like, reverse. All right, just hit it harder because it's gonna scrape.
Yeah.
But as the Ashley, that's her first real like old car that she's ever been in. So we took it for my birthday. We went to a little local cruise in, and she's like, somebody took our picture, and I'm like, yeah. And she's like,
get used to it.
They're standing next to shiny cars. And I'm like, I know. Isn't that cool? But just hearing people come up and be like, hey, I learned how to drive in a 54, or, I took my wife on a date in a it's like, okay, that's what, and that's why we started this, was because we want to hear people's stories. Like,
when you take it out, you'll never be on time anywhere ever again.
No,
everybody's gonna stop you.
I like to say that it tells us when we're leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll go out there 10, 15 minutes early, like, hot rod time. Leave a little early. Yeah. It still won't start till the exact moment it needs to start. But it starts, and we go on about our day. She cold-natured, no choke. But that's the stuff that I'm like, this is why we do this. I'll be mad at it. Cool. Come inside and go do it again tomorrow. Yeah.
So now, is it still like the single carb and stock manifold and stuff? Yeah. There's a good amount of stuff you can do to those.
Yeah, when we bought the car, it had a little exhaust leak. So I was like, we'll do some exhaust gaskets, no big deal. Found out that the exhaust was leaking, but the manifold was also cracked.
Oh, yeah.
And they're split manifolds, so I was like, okay, I'll just order a set of manifolds. Like, it'll connect to the exhaust and everything will be good to go. No, it's a different angle at the collectors. So, and at the time, I didn't have a welder. I didn't have anywhere to weld anything at. So it was like, go get some flex pipe and put some clamps on it and route it the best you can. So Ashley got to build an exhaust.
Yep.
And,
We'll send.
and but so then once we got that figured out, I was like, okay, still leaked, but I recently did it, and I don't know if the motor mounts have gotten worn out, but the motor has kind of shifted a little bit. So now,
Oh, really?
the manifold doesn't really want to come off. We got it off, but now it leaks real good. Yeah. And now I'm like, it'll leak until I put a small block in it.
Oh, so you're not going to keep the
No.
the 235?
If it hangs around here, it'll probably end up with either a small block or an LS, whatever I can find cheap at the time.
Yeah.
Originally, I was going to put, Holly came out with a single barrel conversion EFI setup, and Randy Jackson with the Gasser Garage, he was telling us that they put that on his girlfriend's car, and he's like, did you walk out, hit the key, it starts every time. He's like, you don't have to worry about it. It's great, like everything. And I'm like, awesome. If I'm going to go through all of that, I could probably put a full motor in it for.
Well, yeah. I mean, small blocks at a junkyard, pretty cheap. So, or even on Marketplace or whatever. So,
yeah.
And I'm still waiting to go to a junkyard, so it works out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marketplace, I don't know about up there, but Marketplace is a little hit or miss down here.
Oh, yeah.
People not showing up, people, wanting to offer you $10,
$10, it's listed for $100.
Yeah. Oh, we had a camper trailer listed for $10,000. Would you take $4,000 a day?
No.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Come on down.
And not tomorrow.
Today's a no, and tomorrow's not looking good.
Yeah.
But
my brother lives in Texas, so when I was looking for a body for the Model A build, I looked basically anywhere between here and Dallas, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and down there, I mean, there was some pretty cool stuff. Like, I was sending him stuff to say, hey, why don't you build one of these? Hey, why don't you build one of these? He's a Camaro guy, though. Like, I've always had S10s. My brother's always had Camaros.
Mm-hmm.
So he got more of the muscle car side, I guess, from my dad. But he actually, the rear end that's in the 49, it's a limited slip disc brake Camaro rear end that my brother gave me. It was in one of his cars, and he's like, I'm not doing anything with it. Here you go. A wheel fell off at once. You might want to check that out.
It's all good. It's weird. It's weird with doing this and meeting people from all over. It's weird to see like what is cheaper here is super expensive somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
And then like,
yep.
I have a buddy that I went to school with that he lives in Texas now, and we were talking, and he's like, yeah, man, like we were talking about the 54, and he's like, you just gonna put an LS in it? And I was like, no, I'm probably gonna put a small block in it because small blocks are cheaper here. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, I could pick up a good takeout LS for like $300-$400. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He goes, with the harness. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, there's commanding 15 to $2,000 here if it has a computer. And like Model A's are big there, but like 32 Fords, they don't want them. Like you could buy a 32 Ford body in Texas for basically scrap price.
Huh.
And then we have people in California, and Model A's are a dime a dozen, but you can't find a big body Cadillac, or you can't find a 59 to 64 Impala because the lowrider guys.
Oh yeah. And
like it's just weird, and we don't get to travel much, but when we travel, like I'll always like update my marketplace just to see what's in the area. You know, I always usually have a truck with me. Like, what can we take home?
Yep.
And we were up in Georgia, and I'm like, I missed out. I've been looking for a Model A sedan. I was looking for a 2-door. Ended up finding a 4-door that we're gonna make a 2-door because the tires are gonna cover the back doors anyway, so they're not gonna be functional. But I like the 3 windows. So while I was up there, I was like, I'm still looking for a Model A. I went to the swap meet, and I'm walking by, and this coupe, I watched this guy unload it off of the trailer, and it's got a for sale tag on it. And I'm like, okay. So I go meet with Swap It Fast, one of our advertisers. He was there, so I was meeting with him, and then I was going to go check it out. I get over there, and the guy's gone, and I'm like, I'm not hanging around. Like, he's just going to crush my dreams that this car, like, it ran off of the trailer. Like, he's just going to crush me. Like, I'm going to have to call Ashley and be like, hey, can, like, I sell a kidney or something? Like, and so I left it alone. And I walked swap meet, and I come back. Was it the next day?
The next morning.
Yeah, the next morning, I'm walking in, and it's back on the trailer with a sold tag. And I'm like, mother. So I walk over there just to see, like, if you wrote the price on it at some point in the day or what happened. $6,000 for a 30 Model A coupe.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that ran.
That ran. I'm like, man. And I'm like, all right, well, that sucks.
You ain't finding that anywhere up here.
No. How are classic car prices up there? I mean,
you're into the rot belt up here, so
yeah.
What's cheap is not in good condition, and what's in great condition or even good condition is expensive. So the guy I got the 27 from, he's in the Tornadoes Car Club, and he's one of the guys that puts on the race that I'm going to next weekend. A lot of people up here know about my build in the scene and stuff. So I've been getting parts and I've been getting a lot of help up here, which is great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I saw just the body, just the tub. What would be the cab of the Roadster pickup? He had it listed for $1,100. Which the condition it was in, it was worth that all day long up here. So I sent my dad a text and I said, hey, can we go check something out? He's like, yeah. So he brought his truck. He picked me up. We drove up to, it was like an hour away, just north of Boston. So I get out and him and I are talking, and he's like, you're building that car for the foundation, right? And I was like, yeah. I said, yeah, that's me. He's like, I'll sell it to you for $900. He said, and I know somebody who has a bed, and he's only 15 minutes up the road. He's like, you want me to see if he's around? I was like, I asked my dad, I said, you got anywhere to go? He's like, no, let's go. So he messaged his buddy. His buddy's also named Vinnie, so I'm a junior. So my dad's name's Vinnie. It was me, and then this guy. So he was like, yeah, come on up. So we followed the guy that sold me the cab. We followed him up to his buddy's house, which was only 15, 20 minutes up the road. And we pull in. I have never in my life seen so many Model A wheels in one spot. I mean, we drove down the dirt driveway. It was a business. It was like his business lot, and it was parked way. It was all the stuff was way on the back, and just as tall as the cab of my dad's Silverado, and all the way down the driveway, probably like 40 or 50 feet, just piles and piles and stacks of spoke Model A wheels. And then when it opened up, there was like a pile of motors. There was a pile of this, a pile of that, pile of brakes, pile of transmissions. Everything it was all outside, but it was so organized. So him and I were talking, and I got the bed, which is in pretty decent shape. I got the bed. He was like, "Oh, what else you need?" He's just like just trying to like give me stuff. He's like, "Oh, I got this. I got the seat cushions for that cab." I was like, "No," I said, "I'm running bomber seats. Thank you, though." He's like, "All right, well, I got the windshield stanchions for it." I was like, "I'm not running a windshield. Thank you, though." Like he's just like pulling this stuff out. So he's like, "Well, what do you need?" I said, "Well, you got a fuel tank." I said, "I'm looking for like a round Model T style fuel tank that I want to put in the bed." He's like, "Oh yeah, I got like 4 or 5 of those things," and like we go walking to the other side. So I ended up getting the bed, the Model A original brake cross shaft for the main mechanical brake system, the fuel tank, and maybe that was it. I think there might have been 1 or 2 other things, but like for like another $200
Nice.
on top of the 900.
Awesome.
So I in the cab has doors on it. They're not the original doors. They're off of something, and they kind of fit. So but the bottoms of the doors were all rotted out. So I gotta do metal work anyway, but that's not a big deal. The cab side, the bed sides are a little shoddy, but the tailgate still looks almost brand new. The front of the bed, the front wall still almost looks. It's in a couple pieces because the way the Model T, the way they're riveted together, they have like a panel so you can get to the battery that's under the bed.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody had drilled out all the rivets, so it looks like the bed is split in half, but it's really not. You just got to rivet it back together. But that's all there. And I mean, the tailgates on those things they're like $200 alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the bed for less than a tailgate. So yeah, it was it's cool when you find like you find a lot of that up here. I don't know if you have that down there, but a lot of like people's collections, like I said before, like their grandfathers collected all, like went to swap meets and bought everything they could, but now that guy's like passed away, and I've gone through so far like 3 or 4. I've dug through like 3 or 4 collections like that up here. So I don't know if you have anything like that down there that might help you with
they
pricing.
are, but they're a little more guarded. So
okay.
We don't really have, or at least known, we don't have a whole lot of, like you just mentioned, like 4 clubs and y'all have a club meeting, like club gathering. We don't have all of that down here, hot rod wise.
Okay. Yeah.
So you have the Misfires, which is the Groundhog Gala. And then the guy that I bought the 32 from, they have like a loose knit Florida Timing Association.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of hot rod club representation. There's a lot of mini truck stuff, Acrophobia is down here and stuff like that. Well, Acro started here.
Yeah.
But
I got friends up here in Rhode Island who are in Acro.
Yeah. Yeah, they're worldwide now.
They're worldwide. Yeah.
But they started like 45 minutes an hour from where we live now. So.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah. So they're always represented at every show. So.
Yeah.
But they have a couple hot rods. Kid that he graduated a few years ahead of me. His dad has a ridiculous rat rod Model A sedan. They detuned a blower motor that was on his airboat to put it in the rat rod. And it's the last time I seen it, it was on 18.5s, I think. And it will roast them. It'll roast them at 80. Like just blip it and it lights them off. So it's ridiculous. But when his dad passed, that car became his. So he represents Acro with that.
Oh wow, that's cool.
I want to say it's on rear bags. If not, it's just dummy low. But
yeah.
So we have you run into those guys at swap meets and stuff, which we do have a really awesome swap meet not too far from us. That's a monthly swap meet. You run into those guys there, but to get in, like, it's a gain your trust type situation.
Yeah.
Because we still, and I don't know, because even like where I work, I deal a lot of the generation that was into hot rods. And I'll see a car and it's like their mouths open up whenever I'm like, oh man, like, tell me about your car. And like, they don't think that it's going to be there. And I'm like, dude, I got a 54 on my arm. Like,
yeah.
You know, like, I'm into this. And hearing, you know, they're just shocked that younger people are trying to get into it. And it's like, we're here, we're around, like, but so we're working on that. That's what we're trying to kind of give, or we'd like to go to shows. We like to bring old cars. That way we can represent to try to get it, you know, because there's a lot of cars around us. And like, we do the cruise in the third Sunday of every month, we cruise for food. And for the past little while, it's really just like 4 or 5 cars. It's me and Ashley in our 54, and then my mom and dad in their 34 pickup, and then sprinkle in, you know, whether it's a new Camaro, because we don't care what you bring, you know.
Right.
Just
for charity like that.
Bring your car in, like, bring your car, come hang out, we'll talk cars, and then we'll go eat some food, and then, you know. But there's so many, like, we decided to keep it just loose because I don't want to be responsible for the guy that does a burnout and gets pulled over or is hauling ass down the road being a tard, you know, because the car culture has gotten a bad rap with everything else that's going on. You know, the takeovers and the, you know, I'm not saying that I always drive the posted speed limit, but, you know, I also don't whip donuts in the middle of an intersection, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, takeovers are big up here, too. And a buddy of mine who does a weekly podcast, and actually I'm missing right now. If they're doing it today, it's usually Wednesday around this time. And I've been on it, been an in-studio guest and a call-in guest. But yeah, he's very openly against takeovers, and it's made a lot of people up here. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but it's made a few people up here mad at how vocal he is about not liking takeovers.
Well, I mean, it's one thing to have a good time. It's one thing to go hang out with your friends, but when you're doing it in a public setting, it's just giving, and it's not like, okay, so the trucks with the big wheels and rubber band tires, those are the guys. It's the whole car community. You know, it's not the guy driving his Dodge Charger, Hellcat, or Scat Pack or whatever. It's not those guys. It's the car community. It's like, I wasn't even there. Like, don't be mad at me. Like,
well, right.
And that's what it is. Like, so when we were talking about it, I'm like, I don't want to set something up because you get one person that comes in and spiritedly leaves. Okay, well, maybe 3 people saw that, so now the next time they come, they do it. Well, now all of a sudden, you got the cops coming to you going, hey, you need to get these guys under control. I don't even know these guys.
Yeah, right.
You know, so it's like the takeover stuff, the doing stupid stuff safely, I'm okay with. But just being stupid, like,
you know,
you think your car's hot and you go find a back road, some farm road that at 2:00 in the morning nobody's going to be driving on. You put it on the center line and go make a test hit. Okay, I'm good with that. You wreck yourself. Doing it in downtown Houston or wherever the LST was, like it's 8, 9 o'clock in the afternoon and they're doing donuts.
Yeah.
Running people over. And it's like, well, now it's the whole car community that has that black eye, not just those guys.
Yeah.
So I'm with your buddy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, even I used to go to the All Truck Nationals in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. I mean, back then, I mean, this is early 2000s, like there was a huge police presence because all like the dragging and the burnouts and driving up and down the main street at 100 miles an hour, like it just wasn't called for. It's not like they were hitting the highway and going dragging for a few hundred feet. You know, they were dragging from red light to red light and getting attention of police officers. And so yeah, it was a huge, like it was almost like I don't really want to say like a lockdown, but I mean if you were driving around in a mini truck or any kind of modified vehicle, you were getting pulled over. Like at that show, that was it. You were getting pulled over because you weren't like in your hotel parking lot. You know what I mean? Like it was ridiculous. The amount of cars that I saw on the side of or I should say trucks, because it was the All Truck Nationals, but the amount of trucks that I saw on the side of the road going to that show was ridiculous. And it's all because of, in the past years, people were doing stupid shit and everybody else has to pay for it.
Oh, and I was fixing to say, you know, a mini truck goes dragging by, and now the next mini truck that wouldn't lay his body on the ground if you paid him money, he's the guy that gets popped because you look like him.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the big shows that we have down here, Turkey Rod Run, it's Thanksgiving weekend every year. There used to be a parking lot like party across the street, and it got out of hand. So now the promoter has actually brought it to the parking lot of the Speedway to try to kind of like, okay, guys, like it's okay. Like, and they do Cackle Fest, you know, car's got a blower, they'll roll it forward, you know, bump it off the rev limiter a couple times. Okay, stop, push it back. You know, 10, 15, 20 minutes later, hey, you got a blower, you want to bring it out here. All right, do it. Shoot flames, have a good time. Roll it back in. Okay, it's done. No one has a problem with that. If you turn out, the one lane turning out of the parking lot is bare. There's nobody coming down that lane. If you want to turn out, light them up and pull up to the stoplight, fine. But don't go across 3 lanes and, you know, whip it, you know, and then there's a cop standing there that goes, hey, you, pull over here. You know, but it just gets out of hand so quick. And I don't want to answer. Like, if I do something stupid, I'll take it. You know, if you catch me, you know, speeding, I'll take that ticket. But I don't want to answer for Joe Blow down the street for why he did a burnout. I don't know. Maybe his throttle stuck. I wasn't there. I wasn't even in the truck with him. And as a show promoter, that's, you know, like everybody was mad at LST for putting out the bulletin, like, if we suspect you of doing this, you're no longer invited to the show. Oh, I can't believe they did that. Well, literally, they're protecting their show.
Yeah.
You know, Streetcar Takeover, the drag race event. You know, okay, you have a track, we have roll racing, we have drifting, we have this, we have that. We have all of this stuff, but yet you're going to go out at 2:00 in the morning and go do it on the interstate. Like, that defeats the whole purpose. Like, the cops are fine with y'all doing it here. Why are you going to go up there? Oh, it's different. Okay, well then don't come to our event, because now everyone that's participating in this event is now getting watched. You're just fucking it up for everybody.
Yeah.
So
we had an event like that up here in about a half hour north of my house, up in Worcester. It was it used to be called the Worcester Nationals, and it was always on 4th of July weekend. And they basically turned like the center of Worcester, which is a pretty big city, into a huge car show. And the guy that put it on was part of, I don't think he was a captain, but he was part of the police force somehow. So like you could do that. Like you could have there was a part of the road that went down, like it dipped, and there was a bridge that went over it. So under the bridge, you used to be able to do burnouts, and it was, I mean, there was a police officer standing there to make sure they didn't get too crazy, but you could burn out in front of a cop. They used to
doing stupid stuff safely.
Yeah, right. And I mean, not that you could like drag race red light to red light, but a lot of the stuff was kind of, I mean, I guess you could say it was like, well, I don't know if you like hockey, but it's kind of like playoff hockey. Like it gets rough, and it's okay to get rough. So like a couple guys like hitting wait for the red light to turn green. They went, like, you know what I mean? Like cops weren't going to say anything. You had your illegal burnouts up the road. The actual car show part of it was in the state park in the middle of the city. So it wasn't, a lot of stuff got forgiven, but the show's not on anymore. The guy isn't around. I don't think he might still be alive, but I don't know. The show stopped a few years ago. Somebody tried to bring it back, but I don't think it's got that same feel. You know what I mean? Like, I want to say maybe the city took it over, kind of took it from him. So now you can't do the burnouts, you can't do the street racing. It's basically just a car show in a field now.
Yeah.
So it just lost that edge.
No,
I think they even changed the name too,
and that's a lot of it is, street racing. Oh, I race on the street. Okay. Go to the track. Well, it's not as fun.
Yeah.
It's not as fun to do it when you're not running. Well, it's safer. It doesn't give the car culture a bad name because it's not the actual street racers. It's the guys that watch Too Fast, Too Furious, or the guys that watch Street Outlaws and don't understand, like, they shut the road down for that. Like, a street race doesn't happen where there's 12 passes in a night. You go make your hit, and then you leave. And you don't come back to that road.
I used to go, back in my younger days, I used to go to the ones, they used to happen in Providence it was like every Saturday and Sunday night. There was a Dunkin' Donuts, and then you'd like pull out of Dunkin' Donuts parking lot. You pull up to the light, you could run them down the street and then hurry back. But I mean, obviously the cops are waiting. If you don't time it right, the cops will be there. Like, and like you said, you never got like 12 runs out of it. You always had to disperse pretty quick after 2 or 3, find a new spot. So, I mean, I used to, not that I had anything to race. I always built them slow and low, never really a fast mini truck. But no, I used to hang out with those guys and go to the street races, and it was, looking back on it, I mean, it's definitely a stupid thing to do. But yeah, it is fun.
And that's all part of it. I mean, but you get shows that glorify it, and then movies that, you shift 12 times in a straight line, and,
the eating transmission.
Danger to transmission, and your floor pan falls out, It's like, that's not how that works. But but there's a lot of people that got introduced to cars through that stuff. So, I mean, they all have their place, but I hate to break the internet, but Street Outlaws is fake. It's fake. They shut the road down.
My buddy that doesn't do that hates takeovers. He has an actual right-hand drive Sylvia.
Yeah.
So, and that car is he gave me a ride home one night, and that car is insane. I mean, I like anything. I like imports. I like hot rods. I like muscle cars. I mean, if it's done tastefully, I enjoy it. And that car is nuts.
Oh yeah. Oh, and that's. I was talking. Me and my dad have had this conversation, but I was just talking to somebody recently, and they're like LS, and I'm like, well, they're easy to make power. It's basically the new small block. Like,
yep.
You used to be able to go to the junkyard when y'all were building cars. You'd go to the junkyard and you'd pick up a small block because there was 8,000 of them laying there. Now, LS is where it's at.
Yep.
Here in a couple years, which the first gen Coyotes are starting to get that way, but here in a couple years when those motors get impact, okay, that'll be a new thing. But I was like, okay, well, a 10-second street car 30 years ago was a nasty street car.
Yeah.
Now there's cars that come from the factory and can go run a 10. That there's full-sized pickup trucks that are running 10s and faster.
Yeah, my boss, the owner of the company I work for, has 2 TRXs.
Well, I mean, even diesel performance. I mean,
yeah.
The tow rig is retarded.
One of the guys in the club, he's got it's a '59 Ford. I think they were F100s then, with a 5.3 LS Pro charged, putting 408 to the 409 to the wheels.
That's
pretty nice truck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even like, it blows my mind because 400 horses obtainable. Now, if you had a small block that made 400 horse, you were the man.
Oh yeah.
But that's technology. That's the changing. I would still never put an LS in something that didn't have a hood on it, but that's my preference. And I love LSs. I had a Sonoma with an LS, and it was quick. Got the opportunity to drive a couple LS, like Pro Mod style chassis cars. They make good power for not a whole lot of money.
And they're pretty reliable. I mean, my dad's Silverado has over 300,000 miles on it, and it's got a 4.8 in it.
Yeah, that was the truck that I traded for my Dodge. I just needed more tow capacity. I went a little overboard and bought the truck that would literally tow whatever I put behind it. But my Silverado had 260 on it. Didn't really give any trouble. My dad's Silverado, same thing. The cars that we play with now were never meant to live to be as old as they are.
Yeah, no.
And
I've had this conversation with one of the guys from work too, because like he's got a 90 Lincoln LSC that he went through the motor. It's got the 302. I mean, it's basically a Mustang. So he went through the motor and didn't beef it up, but it's got roller rockers and it's got some touches here and there, but he also has a 16 or a 17 Hemi Challenger that he's done a little bit of work to. But the older car, like the Lincoln, he's probably going to sell it because now it's like everything's squeaking and everything's kind of like rattling itself loose. And I mean, the way I am with, or the way I was with S10s, like he was with those Lincoln LSs, those LSCs. I think this is like his fourth or fifth one, and he's just like, you know what, I don't want to like, I don't want to be working on things anymore. So he's been looking at like newer vehicles, and he keeps saying, oh, well, this one's got 120,000 and this one's got 150,000. I'm like, yeah, but nowadays, I mean, you buy anything new with 100 or newer with 150,000 on it, that's like not even halfway through its life cycle.
Oh yeah.
Like you can run things as long as your maintenance is kept up. I mean, you can run them till the bodies fall off now.
And that's a little, I mean, that's a little where a little bit of the issue with trying to get younger people into hot rod, old car stuff is, you know, I can have the same amount of power and it doesn't rattle, it doesn't squeak. It's got a radio, it's got AC, it's got power windows, like it has all these creature comforts. Why would I want to drive something that I have to roll the windows down? Because if I don't roll them down, they'll roll themselves down. Like, you know, I can have a 4-cylinder with 300 horsepower, or I can have a banger motor that makes 40. You know, it's like, and to me, I would rather have the old crap just because you get stories, you get it's conversation starters. And to me, new cars don't have soul. Like, I haven't looked at a new, I mean,
plus, I mean, if you take like, you take like my 49, if I pull that into a parking lot and park it between my boss's TRXs, like which one are people going to look at?
49. Because you don't see them.
The TRXs are cool because they're freaking fast as hell. But I mean, it's a 1,000 horsepower in a pickup truck. But I mean, it looks like a stock truck.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the guys that I follow. He has it's a flathead, a blown flathead. Model A sedan, lays on the ground. I mean, rat rod. And he went to Cars and Coffee down in Tampa, and like Lambos, Audi R8s, C8 Corvettes, and he like pulls in, backs in, lays it on its ass, goes to get out, and he's like, I can't get out. Because everybody's around the car, like he's like, and you know, you're like driving. He goes, you know, I'm driving by and there's $1 million worth of cars, and I'm like, got my head jacked around, hoping like a tire don't catch it, or you know, rust don't fly off and hit it, or you know, I'm worried about it. And all these people are coming over. What is that? You know, well, I've never seen one of those. You know, because it's a blown. Yeah, it's a blown flathead V8, and you know, the whiskey bottle overflow for the radiator, and a skateboard deck for the trans tunnel. It's just cool. A cool build. Just a bunch of cool stuff on the car, but he's like, I can pull in, and everyone will leave the $130,000 C8 or the Lambo or this or that. He goes, I get out like Dickies, greasy because I had to work on this on the side of the road to get here, and like everybody still wants to talk to me and shake my hand. And the guy over there, like, not sweating. He goes, like, I'm sweating profusely, like one of my bows flew off. Like, I just kept driving. Like, you know, he's like, but they want to talk to me because you don't see them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's exactly that's what it's all about. I think Ashley, when we first went to go, when I told her, hey, we're going to go look at this 54, I think she was a little like, what? Like, but now she likes it better than I do. I threaten to sell it every time we sort of wash it.
The 2 times we washed it in the year we've had it.
Huh?
I said it's a new model. It's a 2054. Don't worry about it.
Oh, was it for the cruise or the second gathering or whatever?
Both, because they were on the same weekend.
Oh, that's right. So we're washing it, and I'm like, man, this thing is ugly. Why would anybody, like, this is ridiculous. And she's like, I like it. It's got a face only a mother can love, and I'll be its mom. And I'm like, well, I'll just drive you around, Miss Daisy, until we get an automatic in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, awesome. And then, you know, you can be mad at it, and you go drive it, and somebody gives you a thumbs up, and you're like, this is the coolest car I've ever ridden in.
Yep.
And our running joke whenever we're working on something out there, if we put a tool or something on the 54, it's like, don't scratch the paint. Be careful.
Yeah.
Even though rust is falling out of the doors every time you shut the door.
It gets lighter every time you drive it. It's weight loss.
Yeah, I said that about mine. The horsepower to weight ratio increases.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Well, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we get off of here?
No, I'll be greedy.
Okay.
Shout out to you guys for having me on here.
Thank you.
Man, thanks.
Well, shout out to you for coming on.
Yeah. So, for everybody else in internet land, make sure you go check out Swap It Fast, connecting buyers or sellers before, during, and after events.
Oh, yes. And check out Throttle Attic using the code word HOTROD, and you can save 15% off.